Hey, Kuzi Talks family. Today I am joined by a very, very successful entrepreneur. He's the CEO of the Aura Group, Mr. Samuelle Dimairho. Is it Dimairho or Dimairho?
Dimairho, but most people say Dimairho, so
Yes.
I've just learned to accept both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dimairho or Dimairho. Welcome, sir, to
Thank you.
Kuzi Talks.
Thank you very much.
Yes. So today we're going to have some inspiration on business, on how to run a business, on how to become successful in anything that you do. And talking about that, we've got a book here, Becoming Successful, written by Samuelle. Samuelle, maybe you want to introduce yourself by this book that you've just launched.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so becoming successful for me, I wrote this book, after being challenged by somebody a couple of years ago. The progress I made as a business person and a young person from an early age got recognized. I won some awards, and then I started being invited to speak to young people and aspiring entrepreneurs. And everyone was like, look, we like this story, this is the kind of stuff we want to hear. But there's only one of me and I can only be in one place at one particular time. So I was challenged to write a book so that I could talk about business principles and also share my own personal stories that are aligned to these principles. Because a lot of the time, people get books and they're told, never give up, persevere, read. And sometimes it's difficult to relate when there's no personal experience in it. But I wanted to show people that as a young Zimbabwean, as a young African, it is possible to succeed in a big way in your country, continentally, and get international recognition for what you do. So this is like a book where there's success principles, and I also share my own personal experiences of how I applied these principles to achieve what I achieved.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. This is a must read. And guys, get this book. It's very, very, very inspiring, and you'll learn a lot about how to run a business. I've got a copy already, and thanks to you, Samuelle, I'm going to really go through this, and I know my business will get better after reading this. Yeah.
If you read this and you fail to succeed, you have yourself to blame.
Is it?
Yeah.
I won't even come to you.
No, there's everything you need to succeed is in that book.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely go through it, and I'll give you my feedback as well.
I'll be glad to.
And on how I'll be growing my business as well.
No, that's good.
Yeah. So I know you're a dropout student from Prince Edward.
Yes, Prince Edward.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that. I think you were you're doing your O's. When you then decided that you know what, I'm done with this conventional way of doing things. Tell us more about that, and tell us more, and which route did you take after doing that?
So I think the issue of dropping out was a process, and I know sometimes normally people get told there are a lot of people that have succeeded and become billionaires and they were high school dropouts. But we must look at dropout in the context that there is no direct correlation between dropping out and succeeding in life.
All right.
But it's more to do with how you have planned your life.
Yes.
So in my case, I started working for free at an audit and accounting firm when I was 15. So during school holidays, I used to work for free. And my objective was to gain experience and learn. So learn how to audit companies, do accounts, do company secretarial work. I learned how to do that from a very young age.
Wow.
And it's in doing that I then figured that, look, if I wanted to be a chartered accountant, I didn't necessarily need to go for my A-levels. I could start immediately after my O-levels because I just needed to be 16 years old. And then I would write the exams, and in sufficient time I'll have my chartered accountancy qualification. So my question to my parents when I was selling the idea of dropping out was, who will ask me for an A-level certificate when I'm a chartered accountant?
All right.
The answer was nobody.
Nobody.
But I think doing this chartered accountancy. I did it through ACCA. It gave me the flexibility to also work on building businesses. So from the age of 15, I'd been investing on the stock markets, and mainly here in Zimbabwe, the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange. So from the age of 15, I'd been investing on the Zimbabwe Stock Exchange, and I identified some business opportunities around that area.
Okay.
And when I dropped out, there were two things I was doing fundamentally. One, pursuing my business interests, and the second, furthering my academic qualifications.
All right.
So I'll work by day, school by night.
All right.
Do my school by night.
Okay.
So when you look at that decision to drop out, it was just not an arbitrary decision where I feel like dropping out, therefore I must drop out.
Yeah. You had something planned already.
I did plan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
And most young kids, young children, they don't have a plan. When say for example they've realized a certain path that they want to take, but the plan is just not there.
Yeah.
So how best do you motivate or inspire the person who is 15, 16? How do you tell them how to make a plan on the next move that they want to take?
Okay. So one thing for sure is it's always important. I always say finding your purpose in life is the most important thing you need to do from a career perspective.
Yeah.
And it's something that everybody should stop. If they haven't figured what their purpose in life is, they should stop everything they're doing, and they must figure out what their purpose is. For me, I was fortunate enough that by the time of 14, 15 years old, in fact, by the time I was 14 years old, I kind of had an idea of what I wanted. So for me, it's not a secret, and I always share it. And I'm not shy to say it because it demonstrates the possibility of achieving the impossible, or seemingly impossible. Because I grew up in a family that was poor by societal standards.
All right.
And it was poor by societal standards, but God has been good to me. I've also worked hard, and I have managed to succeed out of that. But when I was young, so in forming this part of my purpose, when I was young, I just knew that I wanted to be rich.
Yeah.
I just didn't, because I knew what it was like to not have money.
All right.
And I was like, look, I want to make money in life.
Yeah.
But with time and perspective, I then learned that life is more about finding a purpose and solving people's problems. Because when you find a purpose and solve people's problems, money becomes a natural consequence.
Yeah.
Right? And you always find that if you chase money as the objective, you'll never make that money.
You won't.
Yeah.
To just slip away.
Yeah. So
somehow.
From a very young age, I figured that I wanted to make money. I wanted to be rich. I wanted to be a business owner and an investor. And I wanted X amount of income per year.
Yes.
And I wanted to have so much in assets. I wanted, I said in my plans, I want to retire by the time I'm 40 years old.
Wow. And you're getting there.
Yeah, I want to.
Because now you're what, 32? 32.
I turned 32 this year.
And guys, the amount of achievements that he's got already at 32, you won't believe it. He's going to tell us more about his achievements. And trust me, at 40, I'm sure you would have retired.
Yeah.
And how many kids do you have?
I have one at the present moment.
Okay, so we've got about 8 years to make 4 more kids, right? Yes.
If God blesses us that way.
Yes.
So, informing the issue of the purpose point, I then learned from a young age that you need to have a purpose. And for me, I remember when I was 14 thereabouts, I wrote a 15-year plan.
Wow.
Of things that I wanted to reflect on when I was 30 years. I wanted to be 30 years old and reflect on this and say, by 30 I want to achieve this.
Wow.
I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew that it must be done. So, funny enough, when I was writing this book now, and reflecting on those things that I set, those goals I set when I was 14, 15, and I looked at it now and I'd achieved about 80% of them.
Wow.
And if you saw me in the state I was making those goals, it was probably ridiculous. Like, you'll say, is this guy insane to be thinking that you'll achieve this by 30, but I actually achieved it, you know.
Yeah.
And it actually genuinely surprised me when I was writing this book, because, you know, I still have the books I wrote those goals.
Oh.
And, you know, as I was writing the book, I reflected on them.
Yeah.
And I actually saw, oh wow, I've actually achieved what I was trying to achieve.
Oh, well
Yeah.
done,
Thank
well
you.
done, and keep going.
Thank you.
We're giving you 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talking about family,
Uh-huh.
do you see yourself making a plan? Do you have a plan for your kids? Suppose you've retired. I know, especially here in Zimbabwe, most Africans, we don't really plan for the future of our kids, of
Okay.
our children, or even of our wives, right? What kind of inheritance plan do you have, or would you want to have for your children? Now that you've achieved all these things, you've got properties, you've got so many companies. I'm sure you've got more than 11 companies that are subsidiaries of your Aura Group,
Yes,
right?
correct. That's
and
correct.
and that's a great achievement. More than 300 people that you've employed, right? And you must have a plan for your kids. What kind of an inheritance plan do you have? A package for your
Okay.
children?
So for me, I always believe, you know, they always say if you're not careful, success skips a generation.
Yeah.
So you'll find that you can be a successful parent, but if you fail to raise your kids the right way,
Yeah.
you know, they can just undo all the success that you've done.
I know.
So I'm always a believer of, you know, someone has to work hard they have to work hard in their life. You know, the role of me as a parent is to make sure that they're educated and raised in the best possible environment. But at some point, they have to go out and prove themselves to the world and succeed on their own.
Yes.
So for me, obviously, they have to work hard in their life. You know, the role of me as a parent is to make sure that they're educated and raised in the best possible environment. But at some point, they have to go out and prove themselves to the world and succeed on their own.
Yes.
So for me, obviously, I'll pause, then take a step back to say, you know, we must have three plans in life. We must have a plan for security, a plan for lifestyle,
Yes.
and a plan for retirement,
All right.
and a plan for general, maybe add a fourth dimension, and a plan for generational wealth,
Yes.
so to say. So what do I mean? Plan for security. Security are the basic needs. We'll say those are right at the bottom of the hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
You need food, clothing, and shelter.
Yeah.
So there needs to be something that you do where there's a plan for you to provide for your food, clothing, and shelter. Then a plan for lifestyle. So maybe when I'm done with my basic needs
Yes.
of food, clothing, and shelter, I will now want to drive a Mercedes.
Yeah.
I want to fly in business class. I want to fly in first class. I want to go on 5-star holidays.
Yeah.
That's now a lifestyle that I choose.
You want to own a plane?
I want to own a plane, right?
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So there must be a plan for the lifestyle that you want to live and sufficient resources set aside.
Yes.
Then there must be a plan for your retirement. When you're no longer able to work,
Yeah.
what will sustain you, right? So there must be another plan for that, for your retirement.
Yeah.
And then a plan for inheritance
Yeah.
and generational wealth. How I look at that is to say, how can you put in place systems and mechanisms to ensure that the generational wealth, the wealth you've created lasts another generation, and the generation uses it to build it more.
Yeah.
So the mechanism obviously to do that is to do it through trusts, where you obviously have your heirs defined to
Yeah.
say this person will inherit this and this one will inherit that will inherit that.
Yes.
And these are the conditions that they must meet to inherit this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, when I look at my son, because I only have one child at the present moment,
Okay.
I feel that he must work and he must prove himself, and he will I'll certainly make sure that he doesn't have a silver spoon in his mouth.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's very easy to say, I don't want my child to go through what I went through. But in so doing, I've seen it with my own eyes, one.
Uh-huh.
I've heard numerous stories from very successful people, but you look at their children,
Uh-huh.
and they are a huge departure from who they are as a parent.
Yeah.
So
Spoiled brats and all
exactly,
that. Yeah.
exactly. So there's always a fine line in saying, look, I don't want my child to suffer how I suffered, but they must also work,
Yes.
and a work ethic must be, instilled in them.
Yes.
So for me, that's how I look at issues of inheritance, to say, yes, there will be something that I've built on, but I want my son to build beyond that. But for him to do that, I need to make sure that I prepare him, and I prepare my children, if God blesses us more children,
Yes.
for us to train them so that they're able to build on that wealth and success that we've created for them.
Do you see any challenges when we're talking about inheritance still? Any challenges that might, or that actually, you probably have seen those in other families, siblings, siblings end up fighting for wealth that their parents have worked for. How do you possibly avoid all that?
Okay.
Yes.
So for me, for siblings, it's a result of not having clearly defined, inheritance.
As a parent.
Yeah, if you as a parent don't clearly define it,
Yeah.
then it leaves a lot of relativity. And when there's relativity, that's when you see people fighting with each other.
Yeah.
This one wants this one wants that, this one wants everything. And then this one says, oh, when I was here, I'm the one that was taking care of this thing, this business or asset, and none of you were there to build it. Now all of a sudden you want a share. So I think part of it is also, people don't do wills, because maybe sometimes they think they're scared of doing them, because nobody wants to ever think about the idea of when they die. But the truth is that death is inevitable for everybody that's a human being. You can't live forever. But we tend to shy away from that and don't do it. And when the event comes and we don't have any mechanism that's clearly defined, then that's when you see all these things happening.
So simply we just have to come up with a clarified inheritance package.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So I know you deal a lot with stock markets. Please educate us more on that. I know a lot of people out there, they don't even understand, they don't know what it is. They have never been exposed to it. I think just shed some light to all of us. What are stock markets? What are the benefits? How have you managed to make so much money out of stock markets?
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, to simply put, a stock market or stock exchange,
All right.
is an organized market that companies use to raise money.
All right.
And when companies use to raise money, our companies raise money on that platform, they issue shares to the public. So they sell shares to the public in exchange for cash.
All right.
Then they use this cash to grow the businesses and expand these businesses. So one part is to raise money. The other part is for trading of shares that have been issued to the public. So for example, you can have a share in a company like OK or Econet, and I can have a share in Insco and OK Econet, right? But it would be very chaotic for us to transact with each other directly, considering that each company has thousands of different people that own shares in the company, because they've bought them from the company when it issued, or they bought them from someone else that had those shares.
All right.
So a stock market now becomes a platform where these listed shares are traded, and the performance of these listed shares is linked to the underlying performance of the company. So if a company does well, the value of the company increases. So if a company was worth 100 million today,
Yes.
and it had 1 million shares in issue, then each share would theoretically be worth $100.
All right.
So if this company grew and became worth $200 million, and there's 1 million shares in issue, then those shares are worth $200 per share.
Yes.
So the stock market becomes an avenue where people trade these shares. They buy and sell them to each other, and obviously, if you can buy some shares low, when the price goes up, you make a profit.
Yeah.
But obviously, those are the benefits, of owning a share. Sometimes a company can trade and then have a profit at the end of the year. They declare a dividend and they pay it out to the shareholders, the owners of the shares in the company.
All right.
So you can make money from the value of the share increasing or from a dividend from the company. Those are the two ways of making money.
Yes.
And there are also risks with shares. You can buy a share and the share price can go down.
Okay.
So it's all about, you have to be analyzing, getting advice from investment advisors and professionals,
Yes.
also doing your own analysis
Yes.
of those shares to kind of maximize.
Okay.
We know a lot of people made money last year from the stock market, and I know of a case where I heard someone who invested $1 million, and by the end of the year that $1 million was $9 million
Wow.
just last
Wow.
year. So, but obviously, it took a lot of trading in those shares aggressively, and they made a lot of good, correct and right decisions which enabled them to
Okay.
make that success.
All right. Thank you for that. I was gonna ask you, stock exchange market, is it affected or was it affected by the COVID? The lockdowns, the performances of most companies went down. How was it affected? But you're saying just last year, somebody made a killing out of
because
that.
you see with stock markets, stock markets around the world fell at a time,
Yes.
at some point. But you see, in stock markets, volatility is opportunity.
All right.
So as long as the prices are moving,
Uh-huh.
it's opportunity.
All right.
Yeah, it's opportunity. As long as the prices are moving
Okay.
and they are not stagnant,
All right.
it's opportunity.
So what made the prices keep moving, especially upwards? What was the whole idea? What is it?
So when I say price movement, it's not just price movement up, even price movement
Even down. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter which direction the price is going. As long as there's price movement, there's opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you buy your shares at say they're worth 200, right?
Yeah.
And then the price goes down.
Yeah, it's a real risk. You can also lose money.
You can lose money.
But the beauty with shares is that you can hold on to those shares
Uh-huh.
and wait for the price to come back.
To just go up.
Yeah. But sometimes the price might not go up and you have to make a decision,
Okay.
to cut your losses.
Or to hold on to your shares for whatever period.
For a long period of time, and
Yes.
maybe you hope to realize money over a long period.
So my question was going to be, what do you think was the reason for the markets to go up, especially last year? You've mentioned last year. I'll talk about last year.
Yeah. No, last year I think a lot of countries rebounded from the COVID pandemic, and they started finding their feet. I think 2020 was the year which was bad.
It was
But
the
last
worst,
year companies were now starting to find their feet,
Uh-huh.
figuring out how to operate in the new normal.
Yes.
And global optimism
Yes.
on economy started to come back.
Yeah.
Because I think the kind of lockdowns we had in 2020 were severely worse than last year.
Yes.
And I think when everybody was now running businesses last year, they were now trying to make up for lost time.
Yes.
So that also contributed to performance, and it
That's how we got to that,
Yeah.
right? Oh, nice. So there you have it, guys. I'm sure you've learnt a lot about stock markets. If you didn't know what it was, Mr. Samuelle has actually explained to us what it is. And, it's not just about going into the office, meeting people. It's also about being online, right? I believe stock markets are...
You can also access them online.
Online all the
correct,
time, isn't
correct.
it? Yeah, and you bid and all that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it's also about that. There's that avenue that most of us haven't tried. I think it's worth trying. And what was your inspiration? I'm sure you started when you were like 15.
Yeah. So for me, I think it was coming back to that point of purpose, where I defined my 15-year plan.
Right.
And then I zeroed it down and I said, let me write the ideas I can work on for the next 15 years.
Yes.
And investing on the stock market was one of them. And I decided to get the education. I did not have any advisors or someone in the family I knew.
Yeah, because I was going to say, who actually inspired you? Where did you get the inspiration from?
There was no, to be honest, the inspiration that was there was for me to achieve my 15-year plan. And I just went to look for the information. It was not readily available. No one gave me anything, but I went out and looked for the information.
Looked for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
I looked for it and I found it. I think even now, it's even easier because we now have the internet, Back then, the internet accessibility was not as accessible as it is now.
Yeah.
And information was not as widely available as it is now.
Yes.
So now it's even an easier period to, if one also wants to invest on stock markets, it's an even easier time to get information. Now, I encourage everyone to invest on the stock market.
I think I'll try it as well.
You should.
I've been informed a bit, but you have this reluctance about things, and maybe at my age I now need to really look into that.
Even if it's just a small amount, give it a try, see where it takes you. It's not gonna be a waste of your time.
I know.
I can guarantee you that.
So you'll be my best friend starting from now. So Samuelle, we also want you to tell us more about your awards. I know you've attained a lot of awards. You've received a lot of recognition, like globally, even in our continent, Africa. How did you sell yourself out there? How did you expose yourself out there for people to know you?
Do you know what, actually, I always say you need to do your work so well that your work speaks for itself. So for me, for a lot of these awards, some have applied, but a great majority of them, it's been a result of the work. For example, even in Forbes magazine, I was listed in Forbes magazine 30 under 30 2018. I didn't apply to Forbes. They came to me, right, and said, look, we see what you're doing and we want to understand more. And when they understood more, they were like, oh, this is worth you being on this Forbes list. And I was on the Forbes list. So I always say, do your work so well that it speaks for itself. The awards will come as a natural consequence. Yes, you might have to nominate yourself in some instances, but I would always say focus on the work first. They always say, if you don't want to be forgotten when you're rotten, do something worth writing, or write something worth reading.
Wow. And you've done all that.
So for me, that's how I look at it.
Nice.
Do something worth writing. Or write something worth
reading.
Wow. Those are the only two ways you ever be remembered.
So Kuzi Talks family, there you have it. Mr. Samuelle has given us a payoff line. Do something worth writing or write something worth reading. That's what we all need to do in life for us to be successful. So this book, like I told you, it's a must buy and you should go and read it. He's written it already and it's a success. I mean, his life is such a success, and you really inspire a person like me. Coming from your background, you told me you're staying in these in a low density suburb back then when you were young. But maybe tell us more about that. How did your parents do it?
I didn't grow up in a rich family by societal standards. I didn't grow up in it was a poor family by societal standards. So in as much as I was staying in a low density suburb, I did not have a low density lifestyle.
All right.
It was, we probably were living a high density lifestyle.
Okay.
Right, but I think my parents did the best they could under the circumstances they were, and a lot of my success is attributed to the foundation they laid and created for us. They created a foundation that enabled us to flourish.
Yes.
So I'm very grateful to them, my father and my late mother.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But For me, growing up in that environment, I understood what it was like to lag for, I think, the first 10 years of my life. And I also got to see the kind of lifestyles, the low density people had. You might see me in a suit and tie, but I can still do that.
You can still do it.
If all else failed, I wouldn't starve. Yeah,
you
grow
do
my
it
own
at,
food.
at your backyard.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
that's how I got raised. But I think the fundamental principles I learned from an early age is, for you to eat, you have to work.
Yes.
Right? And that was what was very important.
Through your parents' hard work, you actually learned that it is very important to work hard for yourself and achieve everything that you want to achieve. 100%. We are really inspired by all your work. Do you want to mention a few of your many companies that are subsidiaries to?
Yeah, I mean we have multiple vertical. We have multiple industry verticals that we're part of.
Yes.
Manufacturing, financial services, supply chain and logistics, horticulture, agro-processing, and some of the companies that people know. We have Chengetedzai Depository Company, very successful. It was Zimbabwe's first central securities depository. We have another business that's called Lyrica, that's into hemp production and hemp and oil extraction from that. We also have Usafi Oils, that's into marula oil extraction and processing.
Wow.
We also have Afri Spares and Afri Light, which is an FMCG but focusing on truck and trailer and light vehicle spares and parts.
Wow.
And then we have a factory in Naka Naka that's into basic commodities. We have Finplex that's into mining and mining supply chain and logistics. Yeah, those are just some of the few companies.
Oh my God. So my next question is, how do you deal with so much workload? You're getting work from that company, that from the different company, and these are totally, they're very diverse industries.
Yeah, so the way our approach and culture has always been to empower our teams.
Yes.
So, I mean, if you try and manage everything operationally, you can't keep track of 17 businesses and projects and over 300 employees. You've got to build teams that are empowered to make decisions, but that you give strategic guidance. So for me, having general managers and managing directors at each company and subsidiary and project enables those businesses to run autonomously on their own, and we just focus on giving strategic guidance, synergies, and growing the business into new areas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is your wife involved in these businesses or?
No, she isn't. She has her own business that she runs. She owns Dazzle Hair Boutiques.
Wow.
She's got hair boutiques.
Okay.
And I think for me, this is because I started this in 2015. Of course, my shares are held by the family trust.
Yes. Okay.
But I started, the business is not 2015, 2013.
2013.
So that was 4 years before I got married.
All right.
Yeah. So, when we got married, it's something that was already in motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's good enough. And I'm so proud of you. You're such a young, talented and focused person, and it's very rare to find a 32-year-old who's acquired so much and who is so relaxed, and even this building that we are at, I mean you've made it in life. That's how I would put it. And with the 8 years that are left, I'm sure very soon you'll be getting a plane or something like that. You just surprise us with something, and from all the hard work, we now want to see your lifestyle. We now want to see your lifestyle, and I'm sure you'll be focusing on that very soon after your retirement, right? And unlike most people, especially here in Zimbabwe, they want to look at the lifestyle first and not putting so much investment in their hard work, you know, and which is a wrong way of doing things. I mean, a wrong way of looking at life in general. I've seen even on social media, a lot of people focus on the lifestyle. And you want to look at what they've actually done. You see, there's nothing. So
there's no substance.
what's your word to such people who don't have substance, but they have a, you know, presence on social media, on lifestyle?
So I wouldn't want to necessarily talk directly to them, because I think for me, we're all human beings and we're all adults, so everybody chooses what they want to do. But I can speak about myself in the sense that I think for me, I'm comfortable in my own skin. Unfortunately, we're in a world that seeks validation from other people than from themselves. So I think the most important thing is finding who we are and being true to who we are. And unfortunately, you know, people like content where they see people spending money than they like content where they see people making money. So people are always competing on, you know, who's eating at the fancy restaurants, who's buying which car and what car, and who's flying where and with what, and who's staying where and with what. For me, I've experienced both extremes of life. I've known what poverty feels like. I've known what to be rich feels like. And I have defined my own version of success and happiness. And success and happiness does not come from material things. So, you know, it doesn't mean I enjoy the finer things when I need to. I do enjoy them, but for me, I just don't find it necessary to flaunt it. And you're quite right. A lot of people that, you know, some people say fake it till you make it, but you know, for you to do anything substantial in life, you've got to do something tangible and real. Some people may fake it for so long, but a point in time will come where substance will determine, you know, if it's going to be sustained or it's short-lived. Because a lot of people that sell these lifestyles, they rise and then they disappear. You know them for a few years and then they're gone and you forget about them. And there's nothing we can ever remember them for. Right? There's nothing we can ever remember them for. And I'm sure all of us, if you look at it, you can relate to someone that lived a very flashy lifestyle, but there's nothing that they can be remembered for. So I think for me, that's the crux of the matter, and that's a parting note for me. And when I look at people, to say, focus on happiness, focus on yourself, and don't focus on trying to live to please people. If you are doing things you want to enjoy, do it for yourself, not for other people.
Amen. This is powerful, a very powerful payoff line, and you know, you've done well, and I must keep on recommending you and commending you on all the hard work that you've put in. It's been such a pleasure having you at this talk show. A lot of people I know, they're going to learn a lot from what you've laid on the table for us today, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to change their mindset and focus on themselves and not on other people, which is the most important thing in life. And make sure you make yourself happy first before you please other people. And that way you won't go wrong. And thank you so much, Kuzi Talks family, for just staying put with us and watching this episode. Watch out for more episodes as we move on to the next episode. Thank you so much, Samuelle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dorcas. It's such a pleasure. Thank you to the family and viewers, and I wish you all success. And as long as you apply the principles we've talked about, you know, success will be yours. And don't forget to get a copy of the book wherever you can. And you'll be able to learn more, and you know, we've expanded more things about what we talked about. But thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.